interesting, compelling stories. Ann Peel, for example, was the Canadian who was in Moscow. She was actually the last story in the book. So kudos to Alex for helping find her.
Well, you mentioned Ann Peel, and I was going to bring it up a little bit later on, but we have that interview. Paul has provided us with that interview with Ann Peel. If you can play that for us, Victor, that would be great.
Hi, what's your name?
Ann Peel.
Now you've got Moscow and Maple Leafs written across there.
That's the Canadian Embassy hockey team.
Do you live here in Moscow?
Yes.
You're pulling for Canada tonight, though, eh?
Oh, yes.
I heard you making a lot of noise up in the stands.
It's just because I'm happy.
Does your dad work here in Moscow?
Yes, he's in the Canadian Embassy.
I see. Okay, how long have you lived in Moscow?
For 3 weeks.
You've just come over here.
Yes.
Some of these people have lived here almost as long, but I guess you'll be staying a little longer, eh?
Yes, I'll be staying for 2 years.
For goodness sakes, so you're looking forward to it?
Not really.
Are you going to learn to speak Russian?
I hope so.
Okay, thank you, dear, and enjoy the hockey games.
All right, Sean, she's wearing a shirt, Moscow Maple Leafs. Tell us about a little bit about Ann's story.
Yeah, just to give people context, one of the things that's unique about our book is Paul Patskow has been basically able to get all the intermissions from game 1 to game 9. And I say game 9 because that's the game in Czechoslovakia and Prague. But essentially, we have all the pregame, the postgame, the intermissions. And so we've basically transcribed some of those really interesting quotes. But for Ann's story, Alex, noticed that her name was Ann Peel. He had reached out to the former ambassador to Moscow, Gary Smith, and we tracked her down because she was a member of the Ontario Athletics Hall of Fame. And so, we reached out to them and said, listen, would you happen to have Ann's contact information? They did. And within a day, she responded to us, and we had a great interview, a great talk. And the incredible thing, Joe, was in 50 years, she had never seen that video of her with Bill Good Jr. So now she had proof when she tells people that she was interviewed during the Summit Series. She now has that video. So it was a great story.
Yes, and you talked about Athletics Canada. Apparently, Ann was an accomplished race walker. Who'd have thought?
That's exactly right. Yeah, we had no idea, and she was an elite race walker. I think she had mentioned at one point she was top 10 in the world, and
wow.
What a great find and a wonderful lady. And the other funny thing, Joe, is that she's actually on the cover of Ken Dryden's 50th book as well. So we can say that we've interviewed the lady who's on front of Dryden's cover.
What a story! And obviously she was a lifetime hockey fan after that series.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, Alex, what were you going to say?
And she did learn some Russian too, because when we interviewed her, she answered back in Russian sometimes.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, well, she was there for a while, I suppose.
If I could just share one of her stories that's in the book, and again, I mentioned she was the last story. She attended games 5, 6, and 7, with some people from the embassy. And for game 8, they didn't have an additional ticket, so her and her brother watched the game at home. And so, you can imagine the build-up in the third period, and of course, the Henderson goal. And at that time, her screen went blank, basically black. And so she saw the stick movement, but she had no idea that Henderson scored. And so her and her brother had to wait for her parents to come home to find out what happened and what was the outcome of the game. And then they had another post-game celebration. So what a unique experience.
Yeah, that was kind of weird how that magically the feed just disappeared when Canada scored that winning goal in Moscow, and nobody in Moscow got a chance to see it. We've seen enough of that. Okay, shut that down.
That's right.